Good evening. I'll make it 7 o'clock on the dot, so we'll make a start. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet for those in the audience and those watching online. My name is Councillor Shantanu Rajawat. I'm the leader of the Council and also chair of this meeting. I'm joined around the table by my Cabinet colleagues who I'm sure will introduce themselves when they speak, if they remember to do so, which I'm sure they will. We're also joined by the Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Peter Thompson, who has a standing invite but does not take part in the decision-making or voting, sorry, I should say, as well as officers who, again, don't take part in the decision-making but are here on hand to offer any technical advice as required. We've got quite a packed agenda this evening, quite a lot to get through, lots of interesting things to discuss. So I'm going to get straight into it with the first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence, declarations or communications. Now, I've had apologies for lateness from Councillor Shaheen and apologies from Councillor Lily Bath and Councillor Catherine Dunn. I think everyone else is here. Yes, they are. Wonderful. Are there any declarations of interest from members? None. Any communications from members? Nope. Good. We then move on to the second item, which is minutes of the meeting held on the 13th of May. I'll take them page by page for accuracy and matters arising together. Page 7, page 8, page 9, and I think, if I can get to it, page 10 and page 11. Colleagues, are you happy for me to sign those minutes? Agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much all. So our first item on the agenda is the budget outturn for 24-25. This leads on from the regular budget monitoring which comes to Cabinet. I think it's a very honest appraisal of where we are. It highlights the issues that local government more generally is facing, but also the perfect storm that we find ourselves in terms of increasing demand, increasing costs, and the pressures that that brings. It's an absolute blessing for us in Hounslow that people live longer and live healthier lives, and of course those are our priorities, as well as ensuring that we have a borough that is cleaner, greener, and more livable. Of course, all of that comes at a cost. And so whilst at a headline level, you will see in the report, the outturn does talk about an overspend. And I'm not going to say it's not a significant one. It is. Part of our challenge as a Cabinet and as a team here in Hounslow is to make sure that we are looking at every possible efficiency, every line of income generation that we can, maximising all of that and really being focused on the priorities of our residents and delivering the services that they so value. There is a lot of recommendations in this. I'll take the report as given, but I'll formally move it with those comments. In a second.
I'll second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Excellent. Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. It's now open for questions and comments. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. It is, and I appreciate your honest words. It is a very honest report. I think it's an alarming report in some ways, because if you look at the headline figures, there's the 14.8 million overspend. There's 60 million you've had to take out of reserves. There's 6.1 million lost through council-owned companies. There's a chunk of the improvement savings that aren't going to be delivered, and the list goes on really. So I suppose the question, just to keep it very simple, is what reassurance can you give us that we're not actually in dire straits when it comes to the budget?
Yeah, I'll come back to that with any other comments that anyone might have. Anybody else on that? Councillor Bruce?
Yes, also I should introduce myself. Councillor Tom Bruce, Deputy Leader of the Council. I think you're right to ask a question, Councillor Thompson, and I know the leader's going to answer it in a minute. I mean, I suppose my reflections on the general situation is that none of these things have happened in isolation. This isn't a Hounslow, sorry if I'm stealing your words, but this isn't a Hounslow unique situation that we find ourselves in. This is a London-wide, countrywide issue that we're dealing with, and I think the outturn demonstrates that we are dealing with this very well, honestly, transparently, but also finding ways to move things forward, and very clearly finding ways to spend money and making sure that that money goes into the right places as well, and looking, you know, specifically in my area, my portfolio of regeneration and development, looking at how capital money is being used very targetedly in the West, the Central and the East, 3 projects set up under the regeneration team in order to help accelerate progress that we want to make in regenerating various aspects of that area. And I think there are some difficult things in here, and it doesn't, read as pleasantly perhaps as we would all like, with, everything lined up, perfectly, and there's no variance, there's no difficult financial challenges. But I would say that we are targeting money where we can in the right area, making sure that we are delivering for our residents. There's reports later that show that delivery and where that money has been spent wisely, and therefore the trust that the residents of this borough place in us and are able to place in us in order to continue that work and do that here. So I'd just say I think that's a really good outline of one specific area where that shows for us to be doing absolutely the right thing.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? So, yeah, I mean, Councillor Bruce, you have stolen some of my words, but it's absolutely right. And I think, there is a strong track record here in Hounslow of managing the budgets, and we're not an authority that is hanging on the edge of a precipice. We're not one of those that's immediately looking for exceptional financial support or declaring bankruptcy, if you ever can. We're taking prudent steps. And so, with some of those things, you will note from the transformation plan, and some of that is referenced in the delivery plan monitoring that comes later on. Some of those schemes do take a bit of time. We are looking at transforming the way our council works fundamentally for our residents. That will take time, but that will also have cashable savings attached to it. To your point around savings that perhaps aren't deliverable, I think that's part of that piece around transparency. With the best will in the world, we'd be able to deliver everything. But the rigor that is attached to that is, it's not a case of, well, we can't deliver that, it falls off the table, and suddenly we've got nothing, just take it from reserves. There is a lot of work that goes around the cabinet table to really think about what could that be replaced with, how is it sustainable, and how is it delivered. And some of those reports, again, that we've got coming further down this agenda do reference that. On the point that you make around the arm's length, our company, Lambton, as you know, a lot of those losses, for want of a better word, are held within Lambton, and they have to take action. And as chair of the shareholder committee, we monitor that very, very closely. So there is a lot of monitoring. There's a lot of work going on. We're not complacent about the situation we find ourselves in, and we know that we have to deliver a balanced budget in February, and that is absolutely key. So that work carries on and it goes on. So this is what you're seeing is a moment in time in many respects. And I'm not saying that the next time you see this report, it will be fantastically better. The sector is facing many, many challenges, but we are moving in the right direction, I feel. Right, there is no one else that I've seen indicating to speak. So the recommendations on this are on page 13, 1 to 13. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry for those in the audience and watching online. It is a bit of a me show for the next couple of items. So item number 4 is the delivery plan monitoring for Q4. Again, this is a report that Cabinet will be well aware of. Ambitious set of priorities that we've got across the council, transforming our services, making the experience of our residents a lot better, changing the way we engage with our residents, and absolutely monitoring every step of the way. Now, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, this is not an exercise in greenwashing. We have to be really honest and open and understand where there are challenges. And some of these programs are very, very challenging. They require either a lot of capacity or a lot of behavioral change. And so they will take time to deliver, but we have to be honest about where we are. And I know that each individual cabinet member within their portfolio does look at their areas and have regular catch-ups and really push the officer team around delivery of those. We are absolutely committed to delivering our pledges in the run-up to next May as well. So with that, I formally move the report. Second it.
Yeah. Yes, very happy to second. And just to pick out, I think a couple of points while I can. You're absolutely right to highlight the fact that there are some RAG rated red elements in here, but plenty of things that show, again, thinking about what was said in the last item, plenty of things that show we are delivering for the residents in the borough here. Under the place portfolio, we've got not exclusively, but not completely, but Everglades, Chiswick Health Centre, Clements Court, Commerce Way, and Bethany Way, all in various stages of development. Somewhere we've been down and opened the site and residents are living there. Some it's about submission to the next stage for planning application and moving into getting the developments through. But just to show that there is plenty of activity in our housing delivery sector, that can be affordable homes and its private rented sector as well, and various of shared ownership and various others in between. So it can be easy perhaps to consider, oh, there's a lot of green or a lot of amber, or think and focus on the one or two reds that are there. But actually, it's important to look at some of the detail and the fact that there is that delivery happening and making sure that we're doing the best for our residents, moving people into homes where they can feel safe and secure and set down roots. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Right, it's been moved and seconded. Councillor Sheen, you're very welcome. Unfortunately, you can't vote on this item. Yeah. Any comments, questions on this? Can't see anyone indicating, so I will go straight to the recommendations on this, which are on page 74, 1 to 4. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, agenda item 5 is the quarterly performance reporting, again for quarter 4. So this is very similar to the delivery plan monitoring, looking across the organisation. I think it's a very comprehensive report. There's a lot of narrative in here. And again, it's a very honest account, very true account of where we are, where there are challenges and what we're doing to overcome them and shift the dial. So I won't say too much more on that. I will formally move the report.
And I'm happy to second the report and reserve my right to speak.
Good. It's now open for comments and questions. Any comments, questions? Councillor Thompson.
One very brief one. I think the last meeting, or the one before, I raised the issue of the payment pledge. That's on page 166, which is still red. And obviously it's mentioned also in the budget report that we're going to fund that, which I think is rather oddly sounding from the capital budget, which is odd because it normally always told that sort of thing to revenue, but I'm sure you know what you're doing. When are we going to see some action on that one? Because I think when we spoke about it last time, you said, soon. I think the impression I got, or soon.
Well, soon. I think the narrative on that, unless Councillor Garrett was ready to come in on.
Councillor Thompson, we are just waiting for the funds to be handed over to Hounslow Highways, and the works may commence anytime late this month or in July. Yeah.
Soon. Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Councillor Ajmer Garrett.
Hi, I'll remember to introduce myself today. Councillor Ajmer Garwal, Cabinet Member for Resident Support, Communities and Equalities. I'd like to know if the lead member for housing is assured that our tenants are safe, given that some of the compliance indicators are amber, and if assured, how so?
So some of that might well be to do with the complaints report that's coming further down the agenda. But do you want to answer that now, or do you want to hold it till you've introduced that report? Yeah, you can hold it till, if that's all right, Councillor Garrett. Yeah, you can hold it. Okay, good. The recommendations are on, or recommendation is on page 156, just one there. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. Getting papers everywhere now. Right, next report is agenda item 6, which is the review of the contracts for services between the London Borough of Hounslow and Koala Limited. For those that don't know, Koala Limited are part of the Lambton Group. They provide the repair service, amongst other things, for our stock in the borough. There's been a lot of work going on in the background. Again, you kind of referenced this earlier, Councillor Thompson. So a lot of work in the background around the relationship between Koalo and the contracting between Koalo and Hauser, so that we both have a shared understanding of what that looks like, what the service is, and how much it costs. This report formalises all of that activity that has happened up till now. So a fairly straightforward contract report, and I formally move it.
And I'm happy to second, reserve my right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments on this one? Councillor Thompson.
So again, obviously all these items linked together, but it's hard to avoid the conclusion this provider is not doing a good job, and there's underperformance. And many of the things that residents do complain about, which are to do with repairs, particularly, don't seem to be, in terms of their improvements, improving, and yet we're giving them another 5-year contract. So I suppose I'm just wondering, did we actively consider alternatives? And it's great that we have this sort of good relationship with them and we're having conversations with them, but if they do keep on failing to meet their key performance indicators and they keep on overspending their budget, do we have any sort of mechanism to actually be a bit more forceful with them and perhaps consider, as we would with other people we have commercial relationships with, consider sort of penalties or stepping in and being a bit more forceful, perhaps? Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I'll just take anyone else that might want to speak before I come back on that. Can't see anyone indicating. So I think. Again, being transparent, it's not always been perfect between us and Koalo. I think that's where a lot of that background work comes into play. A much stronger relationship, much more liaison. So it's not just conversations. Actually, they are. I think it's weekly they meet almost between our housing side and with Koalo's management around some of the activity, really understanding and getting into where there are issues. Now, with the repair service, there is inevitably quick fixes and there are more complex things that need to be done, and really understanding that activity is key, and that's why I get comfort from what this contract says, and it formalizes a lot of that. Of course, in the long term, we want them to succeed because they are servicing our tenants and our residents. But if they don't, then that will lead to conversations, strict conversations. But I am more hopeful that the relationship is on sound footing, and that some of those historic issues are ironed out. Right, the recommendations on this are on page 175, 1.1. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimously carried. Right, we now move on to, you'll be pleased to know, my last report, which is the award of a new leisure management contract for Lambton Leisure. That's on page 262. Again, similar to the last contract, Lambton Leisure provide the leisure services for our residents. Again, historically done a very good job, impacted by the COVID pandemic, as all leisure providers were, but certainly some of the performance indicators that I've seen recently suggest things are improving. There are, of course, underlying pressures there, which I'm sure Councillor Shaheen will be happy to talk about if he does choose to speak. But I think it's absolutely right that Lambton Leisure are asked to provide that contract for services going forward. So I'll formally move it. Councillor Shaheen, do you want a second?
Councillor Salman Shaheen, Cabinet Member for Culture, Leisure and Public Spaces. I'm very happy to second this report and very much welcome it. I want to put on record, it's been an absolute pleasure working with all echelons of the staff at Lambton Leisure in pursuing our objectives as a borough to create a healthy borough, to provide leisure facilities at an affordable price to our residents, and to meet their needs. Of course, as you mentioned, there have been financial challenges through the cost of living crisis. Obviously, we have infrastructure challenges. We've got Brentford Fountain Leisure Centre that we are actively looking to replace at the moment, and there have been challenges around the financing of that, as well as staffing and operational costs. But we're on a good trajectory. There have been many steps that have been taken to put Lambton Leisure on a better financial footing, including our review of fees and charges. And I think we're in a good place, and I'm very happy to work with them for the next phase.
Thank you, Councillor Sheen. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions on this report? I can't see anyone indicating. So the recommendations on this report are on page 262, 2.1 and 2.2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to take a little bit of a break now. Agenda item 8, the annual housing landlord complaints performance and service improvements. Councillor Sampson, would you like to move?
Yes, Leader, thank you. Yes, I'd like to move the report, and I'd just like to say that I'm here to present this item in my role as Cabinet Member for Housing Management and Homelessness, with responsibility for the Council's function as social landlord. Councillor Sidhu will also be speaking as the Cabinet Member with responsibility for customer experience. This evening, I am really pleased to be able to bring to you the annual housing landlord complaints performance and service improvement record. This report sets out the Council's actions in managing and responding to complaints in 24-25 within its role as social housing landlord. The report in Appendix 1 shows complaint volume and trends, highlights of learning from complaints and the steps taken in response to improving performance and services for residents. The past year has seen 68% increase in complaints, which has impacted on our performance significantly. We took action to review our resources and processes. By the end of the year, the performance had improved. The first 2 months of this year had seen further dramatic improvement. Effective scrutiny and review of complaints themes and performance in responding to residents has been vital, and doing this shaped our decisions we made throughout the year. Changes were implemented, and we already have seen improvements in service delivery and complaint handling, with the year ending with a more positive performance. We still have more to do and are committed to improving services for the residents and taking forward the lessons learned from the past year. I'll now just hand over to Councillor Sidhu.
Okay, that's fine, Councillor Sidhu.
Thank you, Councillor Sampson. Councillor Raghuvinder Sidhu. I'm a Cabinet Member for Community Safety, Customer Experience and Enforcement. I'm also the Council's member responsible for complaints, and within this role, I ensure that effective scrutiny and insight is provided to support the positive complaint handling culture. Effective complaint handling is a key driver of improvement for the organization, leading to better services for the residents. The Council's residents' experience and localities service is leading an organizational-wide approach focused on learning from complaints and using insight through a new technology, including working with our teams within housing to provide excellent customer services. This report demonstrates the journey that we are currently on to ensure that we are really listening and respond in the right way to our residents, and to use this to drive forward a change and improvements, ensuring that the best possible residents experience. The report includes at Appendix 2 the Council's self-assessment against the complaint handling code. This is reviewed as a minimum on an annual basis and is used to ensure compliance and to guide the Council towards the best practice. I'm happy to take any questions from the Cabinet. I move the report.
Second.
I second
it. Thank you, Councillor Sampson, Councillor Sidhu. So it's been moved and seconded. I'm going to go to you, Councillor Ajmer first, because your question we can put back on the table.
I like repeating myself. Okay, could I please ask the lead member of housing if you are assured that our tenants are safe, given that some of the compliance indicators are amber, and if assured, how so?
Do you want to answer that now, Councillor Sampson?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. Yes, I am assured. I'm assured monthly. Where we meet, we have regular meetings every month. So yes, I'm assured. But I want to assure everybody here as well that we only have 3 areas of three areas of our compliance which are amber. Okay, that's gas safety, asbestos, and lifts. And gas safety is due to the access issues which housing officers are progressing. Asbestos is due to the outstanding reports not yet received due to queries that we've raised. So, which, you know, that's acceptable because we are aware. And lifts, all surveys have been done. We're just waiting on the certification from Lola on two sites, that's all. Our own engineers carry out monthly safety checks, and the other two areas of compliance, being fire risk assessment and Legionella, are both sitting at 100%. So yes, I'm very reassured.
Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, please, just a very, very quick one. What is LOLA?
Sorry, that's the acronym for lift operation, lifting equipment regulations.
The acronym's shorter than the actual. Fine. Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Shaheen.
And there I thought Councillor Samples was going to break into the Kinks. You know, the Lola song. No? Okay. That's all right. Clearly got a very old music sense. Anyway, listen, thank you, Councillor Sampson City, for that. I think, you know, no one likes receiving complaints, do they? But I think these challenges are often opportunities as well. And have you had any insights? Can you give me an example or two of improvements you've made to the service based on the feedback from complaints?
Yes, we can. One area that we picked up through the tenant satisfaction measures and complaints identified the lack of the issue around caretaking and ASB, the overlap, duplication and stuff. So we, through through training, and we address things through the training to enable both teams to better understand what is expected and how to escalate, because that we found to be an issue. How to escalate for a more faster, speedier resolution. That's currently operating. It appears to be working, but I think it's a bit, you know, I don't want to speak too soon, but it certainly seems to be working. But we will be revisiting that in a couple of months to make sure that staff, everything's going according to the way we would like it.
I'll bring you in a sec, Councillor Thompson. Councillor, did you want to add to that?
Yes, just adding up, this will be the part of our enforcement review as well, which will working together so that overlapping we can identify and we can fix it up. Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
I do understand that the changes to the system mean that the numbers have gone up. I get that. But I suppose it is still a worry that all the cases that went to the Ombudsman were upheld or partly upheld, every single one of them. And the areas that they focus on are, and again, this will surprise no councillor who has the casework coming in, and for some of us it's been for years. It's poor customer service, that's down to us. It's dissatisfaction with repairs. It's waiting for repairs, lack of communication, which obviously is largely, that's an area where the crowd you just given another 5-year contract to are responsible. So the report seems to be saying it's not great, and we recognise that, and we're honest about it, and I appreciate that. But we're putting things into place, and it's all going to get better. So I suppose maybe it's not a question at all; it's more an observation. I suppose next time we come back to this, if it's all going to plan, we'll get back up to those 80%. We should get a reduction in complaints, and we perhaps, hopefully, one day might not have residents complaining that they have to wait. You know, they have several appointments made and cancelled, that the right stuff doesn't turn up. But all the things that I'm sure you hear all the time, Councillor Sampson. So I'm pleased, I suppose, that you're telling me you're on it, and we will see improvement. But we all know, we're not stupid, that there are too many complaints in this area, and all our tenants do, and we'll recognise that they do deserve better. Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Sampson.
I'd just like to, that was another area of concern, but we talked about ASB. Repairs. we fully accept that. We see it through our casework. But we have carried out that end-to-end review of the whole service, which has left us with greater confidence that this is going to work. We have started to see the improvements already. So, and that's what's led us to, to commit to a further 5 years of contract, because there was a lot of things, a lot of faults on both sides, not just that on Koala's side. It was on our sides, and again there was a lot of duplication and a better way of working. That's all been ironed out. There's still, again, maybe teething problems, but not to the extent of what we had. So I'm very confident that it's going to work, because I would not have agreed to the extension of the 5-year contract if I didn't believe it would.
Yeah, and I guess it's worth just referencing back to the corporate performance report. Tenant satisfaction, as reported in that, is sitting at 95% for Q4. So it is already bearing fruit. And I think from memory, the turnaround in casework is already at 88%. So whilst appreciate there's more to do, actually it's already bearing fruit. So we don't need to wait till the next report, Councillor Thompson. Some of it is coming through now. Yeah, which is always good. Great. So the recommendations for this report are on page 268. There's one recommendation in there. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Perfect. Thank you very much all. Agenda item 9 is the water utilities contract, and that's authority to commence procurement activity. I will present this on behalf of Councillor Dunn. Of course, we have a contract for the supply of water to our buildings. It is a large contract, so it will be a large procurement, £3.7 million value in the contract. So it is before Cabinet. I think the report is fairly self-explanatory and straightforward. So I'm happy to move it. And if there are any questions, do you want to second it?
Yep, happy to second and reserve my right to speak.
Good. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions on that report? Can't see anyone indicating. So the recommendations on this are on page 303, 1 and 2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Okay. Right. Next report is agenda item 10, the mortuaries contract. Councillor Shaheen.
Thank you very much, Leader. Very simple report this. We have a mortuaries contract already with Hammersmith and Fulham, who provide our mortuary service for us, and this is setting out that we wish to renew that. It's a very successful service, and we don't want to change that.
Good. I will formally second it and reserve my right to speak. So it's open for discussion and debate. Anyone else on this? No? Okay. So I'll move straight to the recommendations on 312, 1.1, 1.2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much. Right. We now move to the Children and Young People Supported Accommodation Services report. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Samir Chowdhury, Cabinet Member for Children's Education, Employment and Skills. So, Children's Young People Supported Accommodation Service. Council has a statutory duty to provide care and support to look after children and care leavers. This includes the provision of good quality local accommodation where looked after children and care leavers can maintain access to their local support networks. Look Ahead Care and Support have been Hounslow's commissioned supported accommodation providers for children and young people leaving care since 2016. The service provides on-site support to 64 children, young people and young parents across 5 locations, 4 of which being council-owned. The contract arrangement is now reaching its expire. This report seeks approval to award supported housing service contract and lease to the YMCA. This will enable the children and young people aged from 16 to 25 where supported housing is suitable provision to gain the skills and experience to live independently. Supported housing for ages 16 to 17 must be registered with Ofsted and supported housing for 18 plus does not require this registration. Typically, a young person will be ready to move it onto independent living by the age of 21. Following a recent procurement exercise, the recommendations are to award 3 service contracts to the YMCA to deliver these services. The new contract and placement costs will support the council to achieve significant cost avoidance to the children's placement budget. I'm just going to add 3 more things, which is about the transfer of the children's and the staff. So YMCA contracts will commence 1st of August 2025 and run for initial 4 years term. And the young people currently occupying the services will remain in place pending their move to independent living. The existing look ahead staff delivering the services will transfer to YMCA under a TP process. And with that, I'll move the report. Recommendations are on page 318, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. I'll formally second it and reserve my right to speak. So it's now open for questions and comments. Anybody on this report? Councillor Thompson.
It's a vitally important area, isn't it? So it looks like, on first glance, it looks like grey news. Just a couple of questions, but say generally, this looks like a good step forward. So if I read it properly, this gives us 64 places, but we all know that demand's going to exceed that. So I suppose I'm slightly cheeky asking outside the report, but I just wonder what the department is doing on that one. And it does mention, fingers crossed will all be fine, but there's a slight risk, isn't there, with mobilisation if they can't take over properly in time in August. And it mentions that, bridging arrangements are in place, and we seem to be reassured by that. Just give you perhaps an opportunity to reassure me and anyone listening that we are confident that this will be fair, as seamless as it can be when we go from one provider to another.
Okay, you can take that in summing up if you want to just see if there's anyone else who wants to speak first. No, I can't see anyone indicating. So I guess part of that is, that whole piece that Councillor Chowdhury talked about in terms of trying to help some of that cohort that would perhaps be in these settings live as independently as possible, and that's, I think, an important part of that, not only for us but also for the individual as well. But I'm not going to claim to have all the answers. That's Councillor Chowdhury's job. So I'll pass over to Councillor Chowdhury to sum up.
Thank you, Leader. I can assure you, Councillor Thompson, that we do purchase the other as well. It's not just this is not the only one. And the thing on the 1st of August kind of rolling out, I am very confident that everything will be fine, fingers crossed, hopefully. But things can happen here and there, but I'm really confident the team will deliver it. And I would like to thank all my team for doing a great work they have been doing. Thank you.
Okay, good. Right, the recommendations on this report are on page 318, 1.1 to 1.2, with the note at the end of 1.2. Can I see all those in favour? That is carried. Thank you very much, all. Agenda item 12, I've not had any referrals from other council committees. Neither have been informed of any urgent business. Would someone be able to move press on screen public? Councillor Chowdhury, is that seconded? Councillor Bruce, agreed? Agreed, right. So at that point, those watching online, thank you very much for tuning in today. Our next meeting is on the 8th of July here at 7 p.m. Have a very good evening. Thank you very much.